10,000 views. That's where we're at right now. 10,003, I think. It's pretty cool. In the essence of digits of 10, Eva is 100 days old today. We're really loading up the ones and zeros. Another bit of good news. My friend, his heart condition has been kind of repaired. His triple bypass. He needs some help getting home. So I'm headed over there. So I've been asked a few questions, and I told you that I would answer questions. This episode will be sort of like a Q&A. First, I'll answer the small questions, and then I'll answer the big question at the end. Why did I move to China? What business am I doing here? And how did I meet Annie? These are some questions you guys have asked me, and I'm not sure if I have lumped them together in one vlog. But before I do that, let me answer some smaller questions. Yi Zhang asked me about the air pollution in Ningbo. He said, it seems very polluted there. How does it feel? And how do I get through the winters? Well, Ningbo is very polluted at certain times. I carry an app on my phone that tells me when it's so polluted I probably shouldn't go outside. There are sensors around the city that inform that app, like air sensors. And when it gets too bad, then I simply don't go outside. When I fly places, that's when I really feel it, because my body right now is so used to it that if I fly back to the United States, I'll have a sniffle for a few weeks. And the same will be said if I fly to China. My body's just so used to one type of atmosphere that when I switch, it's like, hey, this isn't normal. And so I have that. As far as winters go, Ningbo gets very cold. It's very similar to Detroit. It doesn't necessarily snow, but it gets very close. One of you guys asked me to do a tutorial on the swipe. You know the swipe? Well, the swipe is very easy. Almost insanely easy. I'll do a tutorial on it where I will film myself actually turning the camera. That way you can see how fast I turn it and things like that. But really, it's quite easy. You simply turn the camera 180 degrees in one direction when you're sure that you're going to end the scene. And that's the key, because most of the time, especially when you're doing a vlog every day and it's very random, you don't know where you might end the scene or where you might begin the scene. A lot of times I do these swipes like this and I prepare it, but then I will see something interesting and I'm like, I start recording the camera and I'm like, oh geez, I forgot to do the post swipe. There's a pre-swipe and a post swipe. So there's this, right? And then there's also this that needs to be done. And you have to remember to stitch those two together in post-production when you're editing. So I have a ton of, all right guys, I'll see you later. And then I forget to do the post and it kind of spoils the whole swipe. But yeah, you can swipe any way you want. You can be as creative. You just got to make sure when you swipe in the beginning that when you get to the next location, let's say, you know what, I'm not going to drive there and show you all the drive. I'm just going to do a little swipe, and then you get this later. If you don't get the second part, then it's not really a completed swipe. But you can do this, you can do this, and then the next one will come from up. You can do sideways. You can do almost anything. It's very, very simple. It's very fun, actually. I like it. It doesn't break up the momentum of the shot. So it's not like you feel like there's a long drawn out pause in between scenes. You're simply moving in between scenes. Like for example, I'll use it right now. I'm gonna see you, I'm almost to the hospital. I'll see you at the hospital. See what I mean? So now I'm at the hospital. All right. How you feeling, Yoav? You good?
I'm good.
All right.
I look terrible.
No way. You've been sitting in a Chinese hospital bed for a week.
Good bed, shave, wash my hair, look like a normal person.
Life will begin again.
I have such a long beard. Only when I was like 20, 25, I had a beard so long. The beard, I had a beard, but now.
Hey man, I like the beards. I like the beards.
Yeah,
Looks good on you. We're at Uncle Bruce's now. And Emil's dad is comfortably sitting in a chair outside of the hospital, which is good. And finally, Emil can relax. What do I get, chicken or a big ass burger? I don't know.
Yeah, so this one. Chinese hospitals. Trying to make sure
I decided on the
best
burger.
doctors in.
I'm gonna eat. I'll talk to you later. Okay, back on the road, back to the topic at hand. How did I move to China? Why did I move to China? And how did I meet Annie? First, you need to know a little bit about me. I was born in Detroit. My father is an extremely creative guy, problem solver, kind of an inventor himself. Plumber, electrician, carpenter, everything you could imagine, just a tradesman. He always told me that there's always a way to build a better mousetrap. And he always told me, you don't have to always think about building a better mousetrap, you can actually do it. So I started off as an inventor in my hometown of Detroit. I created a couple of products. Some of them were really goofy. I started a product when I was 16 called the Antenna Acrobat, which was a goofy little thing that hooked onto your car antenna. And I sold a bunch of those. And then Detroit kind of fell on hard times, and I was offered an opportunity to work on a yacht in the Caribbean. So I took it. I worked as first mate aboard a privately owned yacht, and I took it from Detroit all the way to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. On the yacht, I learned that my idea of wealth, my idea of the true rich and famous was really skewed. There were some people in this world which were phenomenally wealthy, and these were the yacht owners. And I instantly became inspired by them. I said, you know what, I want to be the guy that owns the boat. I want to be rich. I want to have enough money that I can have the freedom to do whatever I want. Coincidentally, the true freedom on a privately owned yacht is held by this guy, the crew members, because we actually lived on the boats, took care of them, traveled around with them. We did work there, yeah, but we actually got to experience more of the yacht than the owner of the yacht, who was working to pay for this stupid thing. Anyways, that was something I realized much later. So I quit working on the yacht and I decided to go full-time as a product sourcing specialist, where I would design products for people or make products of my own and sell them to people that wanted to buy them. In Detroit at the time, there were 3 casinos: Motor City Casino, Greektown Casino, and MGM. And these 3 casinos were very amiable to buying new products and giving them away to their people that went to the casino. Every year, you're on your birthday, you might get a coupon from the local casino saying, "Happy birthday, George. We at Motor City Casino want to thank you for coming to our casino and wish you a happy birthday. Just to let you know, there's a special prize for you if you come to the casino and pick it up." Now, the prize probably cost a couple of dollars, but in going to the casino to pick up your little coffee mug or doodad or wallet or whatever it was, you would probably say, you know what, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna gamble. And you end up gambling hundreds of dollars. So for the casinos, it's a good bet. So they're always trying to find unique and interesting things to give to people to get them to come to the casino in order to spend their hard-earned cash. So I sold to the casinos a couple of different things, and it actually turned out to be pretty profitable. But there's only 3 casinos in Detroit. So I made the decision to move to Las Vegas, where there's 300 casinos, and my odds of selling more product really increased, and I could focus on selling to casinos individually. So I moved to Vegas. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have any connections. I'd never even visited Vegas. I had never visited Vegas until I drove there in a huge truck that I called Big Blue. My dad, who's also a mechanic, thought that instead of renting a Ryder truck to move all my stuff, why don't I just buy a truck, fix it up, and then take it to Vegas, and then at least you have something that you might be able to sell as an asset down the road. So we went out and bought a huge 25-foot box truck, loaded it up with all my stuff. We had to fix some of the transmission and whatnot, but we fixed it up. Funny thing was that this truck was really old. It was like an 89, and it couldn't really go over 50 miles an hour. And on inclines, it would only go like 20 miles an hour. I mean, it was loud too. Pop, 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 pop. anyways, eventually I did get to Las Vegas, and I found a small apartment on the ghetto side of East Las Vegas, and I started hitting the pavement. I put on some good shoes, I wore a suit and a button-up and nice pants, and I just walked with a backpack from casino to casino to casino. I would walk in, go to the lobby, go to the front desk, ask for the marketing department extension, go to the marketing department, pick up the phone, and then say, "Hi, my name's Matt." And they would say, "What do you want?" And I would say, "I make things. If you're interested in buying them, I can make them, and I've learned how to make things in China, so I can design and deliver." More like 90 times out of 100, they would say, "We're not interested, go away." But it was a numbers game, and I lived in Vegas, and there was a million casinos to buy from, so I just went from casino to casino to casino to casino to casino until finally the one casino that bit and decided to schedule a meeting with me was MGM Grand. Go figure. So I went and met with the director of marketing at MGM Grand. She gave me an opportunity to supply her with a bunch of leather business card holders of a custom design. 25,000 units, I remember. I made $5,000 off of that order. Multiply that over and over. Once I had the MGM, then I had credibility, and I was able to leverage that credibility to meet with other casinos. If you guys don't know about Las Vegas, it's a huge social scene. So there was business meetings and events going on all the time that you could go to and say, "Hi, my name's Matt. Here's my business card. I make things in China." So I started networking and doing pretty well. At one point in time, I met one of my biggest clients to date at a trade show in Las Vegas. He was displaying his products. I walked up to him and said, "Just letting you know, if you want, you can check me out. I could probably make your product in China for a lot cheaper and give you more profit to grow your business here in America." And so he said, "Why don't you give me a quote?" I gave him a quote. Fast forward, I'm producing his product. The first order was pretty big, and I had sent it over to a factory in China. I had a liaison here in Ningbo that was doing all my business, and she found factories to make the product and got the ball rolling. My customer really wanted to visit the factory, so he said, "Why don't we schedule a trip when we're farther along, and I can inform the factories how I want things packaged and produced and assembled and things like this." So me and my customer flew here to Ningbo. And it was one of my first times actually being in China. And I had been doing all my business through the internet at that point in time, just kind of like through emails or through conversing through the internet. So this was my first opportunity to sit down and see the fruits of my labor. Well, it turns out that the factories that my liaison had chose were horrible. They had produced the samples almost perfect, but the samples were not a accurate selection of the quality of the whole order. I ended up driving to one of the factories. The part was foam, and I drove with my customer. I'm visiting this place for the first time. My liaison is sitting in the front seat. I'm sitting in the back with my client, and we're driving. It's getting more and more rural. It's getting more and more run down. Pretty soon, we're driving through a landfill. We're talking piles of garbage on either side of the road, piles of industrial waste. And in the middle of this landfill is this dilapidated half industrial building. It looked like a building that had once been much larger, but had been demolished on two sides. And it was, the corner was good, but it was all broken brick around the other sides. And I looked to my liaison and I said, "Is this the place that we're going to?" She says, "Yep." So we got to the factory and we we walked in, and product was scattered everywhere. It was a disaster. Just guys old Chinese guys with cigarettes hanging out of their mouth, operating some heat presses and cutting machines with other old guys with more cigarettes hanging out of their mouths, and just the sanitary quality of the room itself was not good. And my customer looks at me, and I look at my customer, and I just kind of shake my head. This is one of the most expensive components of the whole project, and they were almost finished with production. boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes that I have paid for and built are sitting there ready to go. And my customer starts opening boxes and looking. And there were flaws in everything. Nothing looked like the sample that we had approved that was sent to the United States. My customer is a wonderful guy, really, really amazing person, and somebody that I have grown to care about as part of my family. And he looks at me and he just starts cleaning. He finds a broom in the corner of the room, and he just, I think that his mind was so frustrated and didn't know what to do. The only thing that he could do was try to tidy up the place. And he starts sweeping, and the factory owner was there, this little Chinese man, and he looks at me like, why is your customer cleaning the floor of my factory? And then he gets a couple of sawhorses, I think, and he sets up a table where he's like, this is the inspection center, this is where we would inspect. And then he starts telling everybody, okay, this is, and I'm helping him. At this point in time, I'm like, whatever makes him feel comfortable, I start cleaning. And I start trying to set things up, and I start trying to make him feel comfortable. But I know it's impossible at this point in time. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable, which was confirmed when he started actually looking at the parts. And he looked at one part, it was bad. He looked at another part, it was bad. Just to give you an idea, the foam is dense. It's called EVA foam, and the foam actually had big bubbles in it. And two pieces of foam were sandwiched together, and they weren't glued properly. They were coming apart. Big bubbles inside, just not good. Not what we had approved. So my customer picks up a box, and he walks outside, and he dumps the box of foam out in front in the landfill. And then he comes inside, and he grabs another box, and he walks outside, and he upends it outside of the factory in the landfill. And I looked at my liaison, and I looked at her, and I said, we gotta follow suit. We gotta tell him that we're not only gonna take responsibility for what we had done wrong, but we're gonna fix it. First things first is we wipe the slate clean. So I started picking up boxes. Pretty soon we had like a 6-foot tall pile of foam in the back. All of the factory workers dumbfounded at what was happening. A foreign client comes into their factory in the middle of nowhere, takes all their work and just starts dumping it out in front of the factory, and they start helping. They just figure that's the way it's supposed to be. Dumping it, dumping it, and dumping it. My client actually wrote on a piece of paper something to the effect of, I'm sorry you guys, that was meant to show his investors who were intending to fill orders with these products, and now they didn't have any product. And he wanted a picture standing in front of this pile of product that he should be taking home with him, but instead he's throwing away, and there's no real solution in sight. And I took a picture of it, and he's sitting there with this pile of product. It's one of the low points of my entire life, to be honest. Sometimes I'll tell this story to people and I'll actually start crying because it's just a very emotional moment. I didn't know what to do. As a matter of fact, as a small beacon of light on this whole thing, the kids in the neighborhood, there were kids living in this landfill. I mean, this was a very, very rough lifestyle for these kids. They were coming out of little holes in this industrial waste that they had built, little caves and tents built out of plastic that they were living in. And they came out. They looked at my client's situation of despair, this pile of foam that was intended to allow his family to make some money and provide for their future, and they looked at it as the most fun that they could have, a fresh pile of soft, warm foam to jump into. And they ended up playing in the foam, and my client actually kind of got a smile on his face at a certain point, and in knowing that whatever the case, there are silver linings to every situation, no matter how desperate. And these kids were finding a silver lining in my client's dark cloud. The other parts of the product weren't that bad, fixable, and my client and I ended up going home to the United States trying to find a solution for this foam portion of his overall product. The only solution that could be made in time to fulfill the orders that this product was meant to fill was to produce it in the United States. And so I lost my butt on the product that was made in China, and I ended up losing a lot of money on the deal, trying to make things right. I flew out to my customer's house for a week or two. I can't remember exactly how long, but I slept in his basement and I assembled product for him. I was trying to make it right in whatever way I could. It gave me ulcers, and it gave me hair loss, and it made me feel worthless. And I thought that I cannot continue doing business like this. I can't do this again. I couldn't stomach it, you know, because I value what I do. I want to make sure that I do the best possible job, and if not, better than the best possible job for all the people that I do business for. I want everybody happy, from the factories to my customers to me. So I sat down. I was living in Las Vegas, had my head in my hands, and I just was quiet for a long time trying to figure out what to do. I figured I had a couple of solution opportunities. I could quit doing this business that I had been working on for the last few years of finding products for clients and doing product creation and working in China, or I could give all my life up in the States, throw all my dice down on the table, sell everything I own, try to scratch together as much money as I could, and move to China with not even a real idea of what I was going to do, only the idea that being in China is necessary to learn how to do this business. And if I can continue to try to do business without being in China, I would continue to make mistakes like this. Yeah. So September 2009, I moved to China. I promised myself that I would live there for 5 years at least. I fulfilled that and more. I originally wanted to go there for business and become a millionaire and never have to worry about money again, because I thought that money was the path to happiness. But in living in China and seeing the ability to travel from a country like China, I went around Southeast Asia, I went around to India and New Zealand, and I traveled, and I learned that traveling was more important than earning the money, and you didn't necessarily have to have the money in order to travel. You have to have a little bit, but it doesn't make a difference if you're a billionaire or if you're a thousandaire. You can get to places and you can enjoy them. But before I learned that lesson, I was focused on business. So let me rewind. I went to China, I didn't know anybody. And this is where meeting Anny comes into play. I lived in an area of Ningbo where no one spoke English and there were no foreigners. So I was very isolated. And I felt like the only way for me to grow as a businessman was to meet other people, influential people in my city. So I started a small group. I called it the Asia English Business Network. I put out a flyer on one of the social networking sites for Ningbo, for foreigners, and I said, hey, I'd like to get together so that other people can learn about what I do and you can learn about what other people do, and maybe we can help each other out. Like a Chamber of Commerce meeting. The first time I had this meeting, there was 10 people. We were sitting in an office, a friend of mine's office, around a round table, and I was the host of the meeting, and I said, hey, this is about helping people. So your job today is to help somebody else in the group, and hopefully somebody else in the group can help you with something. It doesn't matter how big or small, it's just helping each other. So the first meeting was 10 people. The next meeting was 20. The next meeting was 30, and I had the opportunity at a restaurant that offered their space for my meeting because it got too big. Then it got bigger. It was 60 people, and pretty soon the Shangri-La Hotel, a really fancy hotel, you've seen it in some of my episodes, offered their space for free and a drink menu, and it was an opportunity to bring people to their hotel. So they were winning and I was winning. It was a win-win. My meetings blew up, and I started having meetings bi-weekly that were, 100 plus people at the meetings, and I was the host in a nice suit and jacket, and I would say, hi guys, and a big microphone in this beautiful hall, and in walks Anny. She was invited by a friend of hers to come to the meeting and said, hey, if you want to meet some other people in town, there's this meeting called Asia English, you should come and check it out. So she came to the meeting, and apparently she kind of was quite taken by me. I didn't realize it at the time, but she started coming to my meetings and was quite a regular, and then she came up to me and asked if I needed any help with anything, and we became fast friends, and we were friends for years. Traveling around, going to the Canton Fair, she taught me a lot about business in China and doing things here, and I helped her with certain things, and she helped me with certain things, and long story short, our relationship grew and grew and grew until it is the way it is now. So that's how I met Annie, and that's kind of how I got moved to China and why I moved to China. I took a lot of risks to get here. I took a lot of leaps of faith, and they ended up paying off. Today, the business reason for moving to Ningbo is more of a side story to my passion for travel, but it's still an important part of my daily work. As a matter of fact, I'm rolling into the office right now. Well, that's my long Q&A question that I will answer. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for subscribing, for being part of my story. And as interesting as my story has been up until now, and it's bound to get more exciting as I travel the world and meet different people and make different videos and interact in different places, and you guys are gonna ride with me, and you guys are the core group of people that are loyal and have been following me. I am honored that you all find what I produce interesting enough to have subscribed or to have viewed. So I appreciate it, and I hope to grow the channel into a vehicle that can help people learn about the world, but also help me travel around it. So the next few years have got a lot of interesting things happening, a lot of growth of the JaYoe Nation, and you guys are part of the core group that are making this happen. So I appreciate it. You all rock in my book. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Please comment, please like, and please share. I will see you tomorrow. We have to go to the Canton Fair. We're flying to Guangzhou. It's a busy day, and I'm trying to do Matt's reef tank. So got a lot of other things to do other than this, so I'm gonna end it right here. Thanks again. Love you all. JaYoe. Bye.